passes. Call to order. Board of Zoning Appeals for September 22nd, 2025. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from August 25th, 2025.
Madam Chairman, I recommend we approve the minutes from August 25th, 2025.
Motion by Ms. Peters, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Do we have any special requests or continuances not listed? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to findings of fact. BZA 2025-030, this is development standards variance. Petitioner was Rachel Sheary on behalf of Greenwood Place for 3361, 3425, and 3471 West County Line Road.
Go ahead.
Consideration of statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted to the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2025-030.
Motion by Mr. Moll, second by Mr. Milburn. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Okay, first up will be old business. This is BZA 2025-028. This is a special exception for 795 North Emerson Avenue. Petitioner is Eric Prime on behalf of Emerson Wilson Investors, requesting a special exception to allow vehicular gasoline sales use in the interstate commercial zoning district. All those wishing to present, please stand and be sworn in by our secretary.
Do you swear under penalty for perjury the testimony is true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes. All right. Is everything in order?
Everything is in order and in our file for this petition.
I submit that copy of Greenwood ordinance and comprehensive plan.
All right, Mr. Prime, name and address for the record. I'm sorry.
We did. Is there a power
That
button?
one's on.
Yeah. There we go. It wasn't turned on. There we go. Fantastic. Eric Prime, Big Baylor Law Firm, 225 South Emerson on behalf of the petitioner. Emerson Wilson Investors LLC with me this evening on behalf of the petitioner are Brendan O'Hara and Kevin Broderick. The special exception that we're here about tonight involves a potential location for a Wawa store, and representing that company this evening here with me is Patrick.
So, Mr. Prime and everyone, we have a pretty full agenda tonight, scheduled for only an hour. So in an effort to try to meet that, I will remind everyone these petitions have 15 minutes to present, 15 minutes for any remonstration, 5 minutes of rebuttal, another 5 minutes of rebuttal. So I would ask that we try to keep our presentations as condensed as we can, and I will start each of these by asking if everything in the staff report is accurate as you submitted it and your responses to the statutory criteria in the staff report that we've been provided. Is all of that accurate?
Correct. It's accurate. I mean, we don't necessarily agree on
Sure.
the findings,
But
yes.
but what's written as far as your criteria for the statutory criteria is
That is correct.
what was submitted. Okay. With that, then tell us why you're here, and we'll go from there.
All right. The arrow keys are not moving the slides. Yeah, okay, fantastic. We're here this evening for a special exception. As you all know, special exceptions occupy kind of a gray area between a permitted use and a prohibited use. They are uses that were contemplated to be possibly in that zoning class, but they require their own analysis, case-by-case basis. And typically they need to have some unique characteristic that makes them worthy of being allowed to be placed in that zone. The intended use here is under your ordinance described as vehicular common gasoline sales. But it's much more than that, and I'll explain in a minute. But in addition to the Wawa, this development, this commercial development is intended to have 3 buildings, which you can see on your screen there. The Wawa would occupy the corner of Wilson and Emerson, but behind it would be a hotel, and then to the south of it would be a financial institution. So zooming in rather on the Wawa site, as you can see, the building for the food and beverage service would be in the front. with the canopy and gasoline tanks in the rear off of Emerson, further away from Emerson. The uniqueness of this property is that Wawa's an upscale. It's in the convenience store genre, I guess you could say, but it's more of a restaurant. They have 24/7 full service food and beverage, coffee, made to order meals, made to order coffee drinks. It's not just a typical grab and go mini mart scenario. And in fact, the building itself is 6,300 square feet, which is more along the lines of a restaurant size or a small grocery store. And so that's one huge unique characteristic for them. It's not a typical C-store. And in fact, for them, the gas sales is almost an afterthought. And Wawa actually started as just a food and beverage store with no gas sales. And so at this location, though, as I will explain, it makes sense to have gas sales here. So in addition to being an upscale type store, you're going to see architectural designs that are pleasing, nice streetscape, a lot of masonry. This building, these views show you, as you can see, as the tags indicate, what the view will be based upon where you're looking at it. And since we've turned the entire building and the canopy, the view from Emerson will be the lower right corner. So that's what you'll see as you drive by. And then along with the size and the fresh food and drink situations, you're also going to see other architectural features such as brick wrapped canopy supports. And when you get to the interior, you'll see that the area with the sign above it is for fresh food preparation and pickup and ordering. And then there's a separate coffee bar in the location. They're all very clean, well maintained, efficient, and attractive. The remainder of the store does have some of the typical grab and go type items, but a big chunk of the store is dedicated to freshly prepared and made to order items and open 24/7. So why here? Why in this location? Well, you can see the proposed site. We've got traffic counts on County Line Road at almost 35,000 cars per day, east to west. On Emerson, you've got 27,700, almost 27,800 cars per day, north-south. And then, of course, I-65 has over 105,000 cars per day going by there. So it's a very vehicular-centric area. And to serve that with gasoline makes perfect sense. And also to provide, though, a area that's open. A lot of the restaurants are in that area, but a lot of them are open just regular hours. So if you've got somebody on second shift or third shift who needs food, somebody coming from the hospital, St. Francis is just north of here, it gives them an option, particularly if they live in one of the apartment complexes, which is nearby. So not only will this serve vehicular traffic and people passing through, it can also serve folks that live in the area. There are other gas options in the area, and the slide shows that, but none of them have the combination of food service that this is going to provide. In fact, most of them are fuel only. Costco, Kroger, the Murphy station, they're all just gas pumps. So this is food and beverage and serving people first, and as I said, really gas is an afterthought. Staff, as you saw in the staff report, was not recommending favorable, but I think they did go out of their way to mention how far my clients went to work with them to try to satisfy the concerns that staff had raised. And so there are 12 conditions or proposed conditions in your staff report. These are the 12, and the red indicates what my clients have done to try to meet those. So gas pumps located in the rear of the building. Originally, the site here was a typical gas station setup site with the canopy and the pumps on Emerson. We agreed to completely flip the script and move everything to the rear. In fact, you can see it here. This is an actual location of a Wawa up in Westfield, and this is exactly what this will look like, right? So they likewise, as far as State Road 32 is concerned, they put the back of the building facing State Road 32, pumps in the rear. But in addition to that, the fresh food on site, they wanted to make sure fresh food would be at least 12 hours a day, or 24. All structures meeting the ordinance, we intend to substantially comply with that request. There may be some minimal variance requests, but not likely. And no semi-trucks permitted, except for deliveries. We're fine with that. Pole signs, we've not gotten to the final decision on signage. There could be a unified sign that is for the entire development, the hotel, the financial institution and Wawa, or there may be something different. That's one area where we may differ a little bit with staff, but we're happy to work with them on how that will look. No direct access from Emerson to this site, that is true. There will be no direct access directly into the Wawa site. There will be an Emerson access that would serve the entire development once that comes to fruition. No EV parking located in the front yard. They don't want that, and we agreed to that. So the EV units are in the rear. Drive-through lanes shall meet the minimum stacking of 6 cars. We don't actually have a drive-through. There is a pull-up window that we call a fly-through. You have to order by app. You get a specific time to show up and pick up your order, so that there really is no stacking. People come when their time is appointed. If they do show up early, you tell them to pull through and park until their time comes around. So it's not a typical, there's no menu board, there's no intercom, there's no thing to line up for. It's just you show up when it's your turn and when your appointed time is. Work with Indigo to relocate the bus stop. There is a bus stop that would be on the west side of our north entry. So you don't really have there we go. But you can actually see the bus stop here. It's just to the left of the north entry there, above the canopy for the pumps. We are committing to work with Indigo to see if we can move it to the east side of the entry, just for safety purposes, but it's been there all this time. There is already a crosswalk there, so if it can't move, it's set up to be there. But we certainly are willing to work with Indigo to try to make that happen. And then incorporate pedestrian-friendly features near the bus stop. Those are already in our plans. If the bus stop stays where it is, if it moves to the east, we will still incorporate pedestrian connections. Foundation plantings on Emerson and Wilson, that's a requirement. We're going to have to work with staff on that one, and we've already let them know that. Because it's a food service restaurant setup, having flower beds up against the wall actually encourages rodents and other burrowing animals to be able to get in. So our preference is to hardscape all the way to the walls and have planters, separate planters. And we will do that. We've kind of had that discussion with staff as well. But the foundation plantings really aren't conducive to good public health and safety. And then full ACL decel lanes on Emerson. We do intend to comply with the provision subject to further engineering design. We're not that far down the road yet, literally, but that's something that we'll certainly work with staff on. So statutory criteria are all in the presentation. I don't think you guys have changed your rules to not have to go through that.
That's correct. That's correct.
So,
As long as you have nothing to add or.
No, I think it's all pretty straightforward. And it's a different set of statutory criteria here. These are mostly aesthetic things, as opposed to a rezoning or a variance situation. So they're all in your packet: ingress, egress, satisfactory parking, adequate yards and open space, utilities, all of those things we do plan to comply with. So it's the perfect location. You've got the traffic counts. You've got other fuel options that are just fuel options that this takes, fills a need and a hole. I think it's important, especially though, to note that we have 2 support letters from 2 of the largest developers or owners in this area where we're intending to put this. Gabe has those. He's going to pass those out to you. The first is from Sprague Hotels. They own several hotels in the area, including that cluster right at the northwest corner of the I-65 County Line Interchange. Janine Sprague, who is the president and CEO of the company, indicated to my clients that it's my pleasure to submit this letter in support for the construction of the Wawa convenience store project at the southeast corner of Emerson and Wilson. We are pleased to see a project of this nature proposed for the site, as it will provide much needed service for the employees, the many businesses located along the Emerson Avenue corridor, as well as the traveling public. We understand that the proposed Wawa project will require a zoning special exception, and this letter may be submitted to the City of Greenwood as a showing of our support for this project. Thank you for bringing this project to our attention in advance of the public filing. And there is some possibility that Sprague may be interested in the hotel on our site, but that remains to be seen. But they certainly have a vested interest in the area as manifested by this letter. Second letter is from J. Greg Allen of Allen Commercial Group. They have developed just about everything in that stretch, and their home office is right across the street from this site, basically, just slightly cattywampus. But Mr. Allen.
You don't have to read all of Greg's letter. You don't need to.
We are down to 2 minutes.
Okay, well, it's in it's been handed out, so Mr. Allen is in favor as well. So, so I guess in closing, I just want to make it clear that we've really done our best to make staff happy with what we're proposing here. This development is going to take over a sort of, it's not blighted, but it's not a great spot. That corner has been developed for decades. It's treed. It's a really an attractive nuisance for homeless folks. And honestly, anything there would be better than what's there now. But this will be fantastic. It's the perfect spot for this upscale convenience store. It provides food and beverages for folks all hours of the day. It will provide gas for the hotel patrons. And for others in the area, and it's just a great fit. And it will allow, if this gets passed, it will allow the hotel to come in, it will allow the bank use to come in as well. So I think we're looking at the highest and best use for that corner, and we would certainly ask for your finding tonight to grant the special exception.
Is anyone wishing to speak against this? No remonstrators? If not, then I will ask staff for their comments.
So, as Eric mentioned, we did continue this item from a previous meeting, and we worked with the Wawa team and Eric and his developers on this site. So there was a revised staff report that was sent out. I know a lot of times we keep the same staff report as the time before. If you thought it was the same staff report, just please note that there are some differences to the previous one. And that's due to some of the changes that they've made to their site. First, I would like to say the staff report is not necessarily in relation to a specific brand. It is in relation to vehicular gasoline sales. This is listed under our vehicular uses. And I think the primary reason staff was not supportive of this specific use is due to the comprehensive plan. In our comprehensive plan, we do have notes in there about improving public transit. And one of the things we look to do is we look to have transit-oriented development near bus stops. This is one of 2 bus stops in the city of Greenwood. So really looking to capitalize on the limited transit we have there. Having a vehicular gas station is not really compatible with transit. You typically do not take the bus to go to something that has fueling. We do appreciate some of the other services that they have, such as the fresh food. We've reflected those in our staff report as recommended conditions too. One other reason that staff has had some hesitation with this project is due to criteria number 2. This is ingress, egress, and on-site circulation to and within the site is safe and adequate. As Mr. Prime mentioned, they don't have a drive-through lane, they have a fly-through lane. The fly-through lane is located on the site where cars leaving will leave under the canopies that are for fueling, where people will be walking into the site. We also think it's a lot to pack onto the site. The south side of the site has EV chargers. We then have the fly-through, which I would still argue that cars are still driving through a lane, and therefore it would be a drive-through and need to meet our stacking requirements. I understand the app that they have, but I'm also looking at this as not the Wawa brand. I'm looking at this as a shell building for fueling, the addition of the drive-through, that if this doesn't, this isn't always a Wawa. We'll have a drive-through at a gas station or whatever the next gas station brand calls their lane where cars drive through it. So we were concerned about some of the site circulation with that. As far as our recommended conditions, we are unfavorable. As Eric mentioned, they did work with us quite a bit to reorient the site, which we do appreciate. So we have less concerns with that, but we still don't think it's the appropriate use next to the transit station. Going through the criteria, we appreciate them agreeing to conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10, and 12. Number 5, pole signs shall be prohibited. Really, staff looked at the character of the surrounding area. We found a lot of these surrounding businesses had more monument-style signs with a stone or brick face. We also looked at the Westfield Wawa, which they referenced, and I placed an image of the sign that was in the sign package or was installed at the Westfield location. And you can clearly see that they don't necessarily need a pole sign to advertise gas. They may have other signs in Westfield that are going in that maybe aren't up, but they clearly demonstrated that they are capable of having a smaller scale sign for their gas station. The drive-through lanes, we did change this from being drive-throughs prohibited, and in our revised staff report, we stated drive-through lanes shall meet the minimum stacking requirement of 6 vehicles as prescribed in our unified development ordinance. Number 9, the work with Indigo. It sounds like they will be trying to work with Indigo. I think why both engineering and planning feel that this is important is the drive across from their site to the north for the Walmart Supercenter. That is offset, and lining it up with that drive would go right through the bus stop. So we would like that shifted actually to the east, so it is on the opposite side of the drive cut. That way you don't have people crossing and standing in front of where all those vehicles are taking right turns into the site. So we would appreciate them agreeing to trying to work with us, but not just for pedestrian safety, but also to align the drive with the Walmart Supercenter. And then the foundation plantings required on Emerson Avenue and Wilson Drive. If you are familiar with the Wawa model, you will often see they just have a concrete pad with bollards, which they put signage on around the building. What we would prefer is to have our foundation planting facing our primary roads. So both Emerson and Wilson having some green space, not so much hard surface. We have lots of restaurants, lots of food service, lots of different retail in Greenwood that has landscaping up against the building. Typically, I know rodents could be an issue for some. Typically, if you're taking care of your site, you're keeping your site clean, that can be pretty limited, and people can get creative with how they do that if they want to use some hardscaping, have some gravel, have some shrubs. I really think that that's something that is really a non-issue. I see it as more of maybe not wanting to have a lot of maintenance to do on the site. So those are my thoughts on the staff report and on their petition. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ron, you got 5 minutes to respond to that, if you'd like.
Yeah, just very quickly. A lot of that's just a difference of opinion on a few things. And again, we're just at the special exception stage, right? This still has to go through site planning process, fuller engineering, a lot of those things, the signage, the internal movements of the vehicles, that can all be worked out in the engineering stage. But I would say that the use that we're asking for actually benefits the bus stop, right? Right now it's in the middle of a field, and those folks waiting for the bus can't get to any really amenities, but we're going to actually put pedestrian connections there. So our use benefits the patrons of the bus stop and enhances that bus stop area. But yeah, I would say like the signage issue, not a reason to deny a special exception. Most things can be worked out down the road. It's really just looking at the use. And is this use of a unique characteristic that would make it fit as a special exception? And we contend it does. This is much more than a typical C-store, and it will enhance the area, you know, especially in conjunction with the hotel and the bank.
I would mention, if you are to deny the petition, conditions really do not mean anything. It is denied. If you are to approve the condition, it may be helpful on your ballot to either say that you're listing all staff recommended conditions or a number of the ones that you feel like are warranted for the special exception use of the vehicular gas station. So if you just say, you know, approve with conditions, that would condition it to all 12. So if that's your desire, you can say that, but just want to be clear. Just because I think we've had maybe cases in the past where people have come back and said, oh, this one condition I didn't think was needed, but it was approved with it. So just wanted to be clear.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. Small.
Marcus, how many pumps are you, if we were to approve this, does it follow the standard?
Yeah, so your ordinance suggests a maximum of eight separate pumps with 16, you know, two-sided, and that's what we do. That's our typical setup.
That's one question I had.
Mr. Milburn? Mr. King? Nothing. Mrs. Peters?
My only question has to do with the pole sign that we're talking about on this particular property only, correct? So if one of the other properties that are nearby wants to put a pole sign up and it's okay, it meets all the criteria, and they put a Wawa designation on that, that doesn't affect this. So if the hotel puts up a pole sign and, you know, it's approved to have a pole sign and they want to put Wawa on there as one of the businesses in this area, that's not a problem.
So that would be a multi-tenant sign.
And if it's not on this property, that's not affected here.
If it's not on this property, it would be an off-premise sign, which is not prohibited. If it's a shared multi-tenant sign for a subdivision, that would be a multi-tenant sign which has a separate set of standards.
I'm only concerned if we say no pole sign, that doesn't bar them from having another sign on another property and have theirs with the other property sign. Does that make sense? So if you got this hotel sign name, you got the bank name, they can have the Wawa name on there too, because it's not on this property.
They could have a multi-tenant sign not on this property. You'd have one for the
So this is not gonna bar that.
shopping center.
That's all I want to know is this, we put that in there as condition, no pole sign. It's not gonna bar it from going on somebody else's pole.
They could have a panel that says Wawa. It gets a
Okay.
little more complex when you talk about the, like if they're advertising fueling and have electric messaging that is changing with numbers.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily know if that would be approved on a multi-tenant sign. I don't think that allows for
Mhm.
illumination.
Just for clarification, you do intend to comply with the signage rules, right? It's just that
Okay,
we want to make sure if we just cut things off unnecessarily, it has unintended consequences. But I don't expect they need a monopole sign on their site if that's what you want to prohibit.
that's fine.
I don't have much. I think to the point, this is a very well thought out plan. Would be very nice for the area. I understand staff's concerns. I would like to see the Indigo agree to move that to the east. I do think the criteria is in line here. So, all right, I will make a motion to admit all the evidence into the record.
I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, staff report verified by the planning department, certified copies of the UDO, comprehensive plan, testimony of petitioners, city planning staff, and any administrators, and all their exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition and to include the testimony of those present.
Motion by Mr. Mull, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. I'll take a motion on the ballot itself, which is to request a special exception for vehicular gasoline sales use on site zone IT or interstate commercial.
I move that we approve this request with conditions 2 through 12 in the staff report.
Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. King to approve with conditions 2 through 12 in the staff report, so that would not include number 1, which is that the building shall orient towards Emerson
Okay, you
Avenue.
already said they would.
Motion to approve with conditions 2 through 12 in the report. Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Mull. All those in favor, raise a hand. Sorry if I missed Mrs. Peters. Motion carries 5-0. Motion to direct the corporation council draft for findings of fact.
Chairman, having considered statutory criteria, I move that we direct the Corporation Counsel's office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance request presented in variance petition number BZA 2025-028. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and the evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as a final decision, final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. Mull. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We'll take final action in 2 weeks. You do not need to be here, but you can start working with staff on all the next steps. So, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. All right. No, any old business from the floor? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. First up is BZA 2025-031. This is the development standards variance for 2350 Indus Place. Petitioner is Chris Taggart on behalf of Indus Hauser Incorporated, requesting relief from 5 sections of the Unified Development Ordinance. Number 1, to waive required brick or stone-based material to allow metal sign instead for sign 10, and then sign 15, sign 20, and sign 30. And then number 5 is to exceed the maximum allowed monument sign height of 6 feet and allow a height of 24 feet for sign 15. Is everything in order?
Everything is in order and in our file.
You know, it's the copy of agreement ordinance and comprehensive plan.
We have not. All those wishing to present, please stand and be sworn in by our secretary.
Do you swear under penalties for perjury the testimony is true to the best of your knowledge?
And then name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Krista Taggart. I am Deputy General Counsel for the Henderson Hauser Group for North America, as well as the project manager for the Innovation Center project. And our address for this building is 535 Horseville Road, and the corporate headquarters is 235 Indus Place.
Okay, and everything that is in the staff report as far as your answers to statutory criteria is what you submitted and are accurate?
Yes, that is correct.
Then again, you have 15 minutes and starting now, so tell us why you're here.
Okay, thank you. So thank you all for having me here tonight. I did want to take a moment, as this is our first public meeting back before the city of Greenwood since we've gotten this far in construction. So I want to thank the city and particularly the planning department as well as the building commission for their help in this project. As you've driven by Worsville Road lately, you can see that our new 108,000 square foot facility is very close to being substantially complete. The Georgie Booth Company moved into the building in August. They are one of our exclusive sales representatives, bringing over 50 new jobs to Greenwood and predicted to bring over 50 more in the next 5 years. My staff has moved into the building, and we anticipate the rest of the Anderson Hauser employees who are moving into the building, which is about 40-ish employees immediately, will happen in the middle of October. This frees up space in our other buildings on campus for those departments to continue to grow and expand our footprint in Greenwood. So with that, I'll get to why I'm here today. So as you know, or you probably know, we have a growing campus in Greenwood along Worsville Road. We have multiple buildings, 3 which are associated with sales and service, which is the Sales Center, which is 2350, the Customer Center, which is 2355, and the Innovation Center, which is our new building, 535. We also have manufacturing facilities on campus, which are the Flow Building, the Level and Pressure Building, and the Temperature and Product Solutions Building. Majority of these buildings have been built in the last 10 to 15 years. So we've really experienced a huge outgrowth and a lot of growth in this last decade. One of the things that has not surprised me, but stuck with me as we've been building this project along Worsville Road with its more visible frontage is the number of people who have come up and said, I never knew what all was back there. Like, I never knew that this is where Anderson, I've heard of Anderson Hauser a little bit, or I've never heard of Anderson Hauser, but because we're sort of tucked back behind the woods and back in there, a lot of people didn't know that we have this huge campus here in Greenwood. And as part of what we're going to be talking about today with one of our exceptions is the desire to have more of that placemaking feel to show that we really are a campus as one of the biggest property tax players, as one of the biggest employers in Greenwood, and also with our desire to get back to the community with our Innovation Center where we're going to be having all the field trips and students and that kind of thing to have that more visibility to the community. So we have a desire to have more consistent branded signage with a campus theme. Our current signage is smaller, not as legible. It's not really sized for vehicular traffic. And we were basing it off some of our European brand standards, which was for more walkable sort of buildings and villages and didn't have some of the large legibility, etc. So we partnered with RLR, which is a signage design company, which has done quite a bit of the signage for the city of Greenwood, actually, some of the new signage. They've also done signage for IU campus, for the Pacers, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, etc. So we've really gone with trying to invest some money to have the professional design and look, and to have it consistent throughout campus, both with the naming, so showing who's here and where we are. Inside of campus, showing directional signage so people know which building to get to. We often have people sort of a little bit confused about which building to go to. We don't individually sign our buildings as flow or level of pressure, etc. We're on Anderson Hauser, so they all say Anderson Hauser, so we want to have some better directionals to help orient people better. This is the look of some of the signage here, and we have 2 main requests. So the first request is to have an exception from the requirement to have brick or masonry-based level for monument signs. Instead, we are proposing to have a steel aluminum base for the signs as opposed to the brick masonry. Anderson Hauser's brand and the look of our campus is very sleek, it's very modern, it's very European, clean white lines, metal accents, etc. While I agree that the masonry and stone is appropriate for an area like downtown or for residential areas where a lot of the buildings are brick and it fits in the area that we're in on that Worsville Road corridor, there are not brick buildings around there. And this fits in with the rest of the campus and has a pleasing look. This is not a cost savings request. As any of you know, probably with steel and aluminum tariffs, this is probably more expensive for us to do than doing brick or stone. But this is, we feel, fits best with the brand. It ties into our products, which are metal, and have sort of that sleek silver and that process automation. If you look in your staff report, staff and Injurious were in agreement that our request is not injurious to the public health, safety, or general welfare. It's not blocking traffic, it's not impeding visibility, it's not doing anything of that. And staff and us agreed that the value of adjacent property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. the signage is nicer and nicer than what is currently there in the surrounding properties. The main properties and certainly the most high value properties in the area are ours. The new building that we are putting in front of, and we've invested over $50 million in. So we're certainly not, looking to put a sign that's going to diminish that property value. The only point in which we differ is that strict application would result in practical difficulties. Staff is focusing on the practical nature of the construction of the sign. Yes, we can build it with brick or mortar, but what the code doesn't take into effect is the sort of the aesthetic brand making, what is appropriate for the area. The code has one standard that applies in all zoning areas, so whether it's residential, whether it is commercial like a Wawa where you're having restaurants and that, if you're close to the Madison, as well as, it has the same for light industrial and manufacturing. We feel that there needs to be some flexibility there so that it fits in the surrounding and you have that cohesiveness, right, of the vision. It is really more aesthetically pleasing, ties into the existing scopes. None of our new buildings on campus have brick. We currently have one brick building, the sales center. There are plans within the next 2 years to reface that so that it matches the rest of campus and has that white look, the more metallic look, the industrial European look. So this is really, in order for us to present that brand, this is our headquarters in the United States. We're very proud to have our headquarters here in Greenwood, particularly with co-locating with George and Booth. This is somewhere where we want to be able to bring our customers and really be able to put our best foot forward with our brand and to be able to tell our story. And we feel that this signage does so in an appropriate manner, in a way that doesn't hurt anyone around it and actually elevates the standards. The second one that we are requesting is for the height. So I'm going to flip back here a little bit to show you where this is going. So if you see the entrance to the campus here, there's 2 lanes that come into that entrance there off of Worstel Road, and you see the median in between it that has a little bit of grass. I don't know if this is attached. Oh, I can zoom in. Okay, cool. So if you see there's the median. The idea is up towards the top part of that median is where the sign sort of in the middle there, where that green is. It's actually gotten moved back a little bit from this photo, so it's not right along the road. I think that's important. So we're not putting a huge sign right along Worstel Road. It's going to be back a little bit further. And the intent here is to show that you're entering into a campus, that this is not just one building. This is sort of the Anderson Hauser campus. Also, the main sign that's going to be out of that entrance is going to be co-branded between Anderson Hauser and George E. Booth, which is our tenant. If they're occupying, if you've driven by the building, it has 2 wings. One is Anderson Hauser, one is George E. Booth. But we want to be able to show that while that building is co-branded and both Anderson, George E. Booth, you're entering into the Anderson Hauser campus. This is Anderson Hauser. This is what, and to also give people a sense of there's more to come. There's more behind it, right? So, travel back along the curve, go behind the woods and come see where we are and what we're about. So going into this request, the first statutory criteria is that the request is not injurious to the public health, safety, and general welfare of the surrounding community. If you read staff's comments, they do not support this element, but they do not argue that it's injurious. They just say that it's not necessary for safety, which we would agree. It's not necessary for safety, but it also meets all the safety standards, which staff does agree. It meets all the architectural standards. It does not create a visual hazard. It does not impede vision one way or the other when you're trying to make a turn, etc. The second factor is, again, the adjacent property values. Staff agrees with us that this will not negatively impact the property values in any way. And then the second one is, again, that strict application will result in practical difficulties. Here, architectural elements are useful to brand a campus and to tie individual buildings together into a cohesive whole. One of the things that I think we've failed to really articulate to the Greenwood community is how big our presence is and what the size of our campus is and what the size of our jobs and commitment to the community is. And this helps to show that we are a full campus. It also has an aesthetic placemaking value, which I don't know that the code really takes into account with the sign code for a particular campus to show that this area is entering. I've shown some representative samples here from the Indianapolis metro area that shows some of these taller vertical signs in a more campus-like environment that sort of shows, how they can be utilized as a placemaking, as a branding item to really demonstrate a sense of place and a sense of arrival. There was one final statutory criteria for both of them having to do with whether they're a regulated building. They are not. Staff and Indus is in agreement on that, so I didn't waste space on the PowerPoint. That's all I have for you.
Okay, appreciate that. Anyone here to speak against this or to add to this? Seeing none, go again to staff.
Thank you. As you saw in our staff report, we did recommend denial of all the signs. For 1 through 4, where it is strictly about the base of the sign, I feel our staff report is correct. It is not a practical difficulty, although I completely understand where Emerson Hauser's coming from. I personally think it looks nice what they're proposing as far as the base, but currently our code does not allow that. Maybe it's something we look at in the future. As far as variance number 5, we do have concerns over the height of the sign. We allow up to 6 feet. I could see in case for something a little over that, 24 feet seems a little excessive, in staff's opinion. So we can kind of get in line on denial of that variance. I suppose 1 through 4 we're not terribly concerned about.
Five minutes.
Yes, the one point I would just make is that our signage on our buildings is very reasonable. You go by a lot of buildings, they have a large portion of their wall space taken up with signs or their window signs, etc. Our overall profile, the square footage of what we're using for signage versus what the code allows is very small in comparison. So yes, this is a taller, larger sign, but if you look at how subtle we're being in the signage on the rest of campus, I think that it sort of balances out as a whole.
Any additional comments to that, Seth? We'll close the public hearing. Mr. Moll? Questions? Mr. Milburn? No. Mr. King?
No, I mean, I think it's a corporate campus. I understand branding. I think a little bit of a strict application does create a practical difficulty. They want a similar look. I understand we don't really allow it, but this will match their campus. And I frankly didn't even know it's as big as it is. So I don't see a problem with what's proposed.
Ms. Peters?
Nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as far as 1 through 4 at least. I get from a construction perspective, it's not a practical difficulty. I do think from a branding and a cohesive and why you can say aesthetic is not a practical difficulty. I think a lot of the stuff we do in our ordinance is try to keep the aesthetic feel and consistent, right, and look. And we're here almost saying, because of the ordinance, we want you to have a different look. So from that standpoint, I can see the argument for practical difficulty. I do share the concern from a practical difficulty on a 24-foot sign. I understand again what we're trying to do there. Does seem very tall. So, but otherwise, again, I see what we're trying to accomplish here. So that I will take a motion to admit all the evidence into the record.
I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, the staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the GDO and comprehensive plan, testimony of the petitioner, city planning staff, and any administrators, and all other exhibits presented be the oral written consideration by the board in regard to the petition and to include testimony of those present this evening.
Motion by Mr. Mull, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Take a motion on request number 1, which is to waive the required brick and stone material and allow metal instead for sign 10.
Move that we approve the request with no conditions.
Motion to request with no conditions, second by Mrs. Peters. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Number 2, to waive the required brick or stone-based material and allow metal instead for sign 15.
Move that we approve this request with no conditions.
Motion Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Number 3, to waive the required brick or stone-based material and allow metal instead for sign 20.
Move that we approve the request with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Number 4, to waive the required brick or stone-based material and allow metal instead for sign 30.
Move that we approve the request with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Number 5, to exceed the maximum allowed monument sign height of 6 feet and allow a height of 24 feet for sign 15.
Move that we approve the request with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King to approve with no conditions, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. I'll take a motion to direct the Corporations Council draft written findings of fact. 4-1. Sorry, did I say 5-0? It was 4-1, and I'm the one that abstained. Or voted against, sorry. 4-1. 4-1. Sorry?
You said right.
Yeah, I did, okay. Motion to direct Corporation Council to draft written findings of fact.
Consider the statutory criteria. I move that we direct the Corporations Council Office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance request presented in variance petition number BZA 2025-031. Said findings specifically incorporate the staff report and evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as our final decision and final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Moll, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. You also are good to proceed working with staff.
Thank you.
Do not need to be
Thank you,
here.
staff.
Thank you. All right, moving on. BZA 2025-032. This is a development standards variance for 1499 American Way. The petitioner here is Thomas Vander Lutgaren on behalf of Sri Vignaharda. I apologize if I messed that up. Requesting relief from the following sections of the UDO. Number 1, number of permitted signs to allow 2 ground-mounted signs. And number 2, billboard size and height restrictions to reduce the setback for a high-rise sign from 65 feet to 45 feet. All those wishing to present, please stand and be sworn in by our secretary.
Do you swear under penalties for perjury the testimony is true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is everything in order?
Everything is in order in our file.
Yes, the agreement with ordinance and the comprehensive plan.
Name and address for the record.
Tom Vander Lutgaren, Ben Baylor Law Firm, 225 South Emerson, Suite 181, Greenwood, Indiana.
Mr. Vander Lutgaren, again, is everything, or your answers to statutory criteria is what you submitted and on the record in the public, in the staff report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then you have 15 minutes to tell us why you're here.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm here with Vic Patel, principal of Sri Vignaharda, and his son, Krish Patel, the general manager for this $13 million project there at the State Bridge Suites for some side variances. And if anybody is doubting it, yes, the Colts and the Hoosiers are 3-0. It is unbelievable. So here you can see the hotel, it's nearing completion. The opening date is in mid-October this year. And down. There we go. This is the vicinity map there. You can see the odd-shaped piece of property right next to the pond. That is the subject parcel there, and 65 to the east there. And here is a rendering showing the site. You can kind of see in this corner there, which is where we are proposing the 2-pole sign. There is a ground sign here at the entrance there, will be an American Way, just for so we're clear. Then we already have a permitted sign along with the permitted signs for the building itself. So there's signage on the building. And that's it. There we go. That's the ground sign that will be there along South Park Boulevard, providing vehicular traffic directional signage to the hotel. And this is the 2-pole sign that we're proposing. It is a 50-foot sign, even though the ordinance allows for 85 feet. We're talking about 50 feet. And the ordinance also calls when it's 85 feet for a 65-foot setback. We're asking for a reduction for a 50-foot sign, not an 85-foot sign, from 50 to 45. Okay, so on a pro rata basis, our setback for a 50-foot proposed sign is much greater than the required setback for an 85-foot sign. And you know, I always like, as a real estate attorney with an emphasis in zoning since 1997, since 1999 here in Greenwood, I always like to just drive around the site and see what's out there every time. Because even though I've been doing this for over 25 years here in Greenwood, I forget, you know, and just driving out there on Main Street, headed east to 65, and I did it twice today for a couple of reasons, and drove up and down 65 and Emerson. But as you're headed east on Main Street to the interstate, you know, you start with, you got a double pole sign for Wendy's, you got a single pole sign for the Crew Car Wash, McDonald's, the Denny's, the Chase, and then on the south side, you've got a pole sign for the Starbucks, a huge one that I worked on when that Starbucks moved in, and preserved it when it went from a gas station to the Starbucks. Then you got a double pole sign for the Waffle House. You got a single sign for Superior Liquors and Taco Bell. You've got a double sign for the Circle K. They've got two of them. They've got two signs, not just the signage on the building, but two standing signs. Then for the White Castle, you also have two standing signs, not just their building signage, but you have two signs for them. And also the Union Savings Bank, when that moved from a Bob Evans to the bank, I helped them with that sign. And then as you're going up northbound on 65, you can see this building very nicely. You can see the building signage as you're going north. And then as you come down south on 65, you can see some of the signage you'll see there on the west side of 65 in this corridor where this hotel is. So you've got the Unions. They've got building signage and a 2-pole sign. Further up right there at the corner, you've got the Holiday Inn. You can't see it in this picture, but the Holiday Inn is right there and you can see their building signage. A little further down from them, you see Extended Stay, and you can see their building signage and their pole sign right there. Then of course, a little further down, you've got the Camping World, and then on the other side, you've got the Road Ranger. So I always think it's, you know, important when you're asking for a dimensional variance. We're not asking for a use variance. Those are hard. Dimensional variance, we're talking about advertising the sign. It's not going to affect anybody's use. As you can see, as you go from Main Street up 65, back down 65, and let me mention that on your way back down 65, you can't really see this building because it's set back behind another building. It's further back from 65 on this uniquely shaped parcel. And there's also trees that block the view. So for about a half a second, you can see the building. I didn't time it, okay? But you can see building signage as you're coming south down 65, but not for very long. You can just see it over the trees. Now, can you see it in a couple of years from now? Not unless somebody starts taking down some trees that are on someone else's property. But will you be able to see this double sign? Yes. Will it allow people traveling south to see it and people north? Yes, especially people south. And what do signs do? They promote business, they promote economics. So when we're advertising and trying to pull in the traveling public, just like everybody else is on Main Street, everybody else is on the corridor on the west side of 65. There's not much on the other side. On the west side of 65, that's going to promote property values. It's not going to interfere with the use of anybody's property, and it's not going to diminish property values. Since I started practicing here in '99, they keep going up, and a lot of that construction, besides the original component of South Park, from Emerson down to Main Street, that's all new. That's in the last 25 years, especially on Emerson. You know, we have that vehicle count from the presentation earlier because business is booming along Emerson between County Line and Main Street, and we're thankful for it. So, and that's why, you know, I know we've changed the we don't have the Tinkle rule anymore. We don't have to repeat the statutory criteria. But, you know, again, I want to emphasize we're dealing with a dimensional variance, not a use variance. So those criteria, excluding the one about the airport, the fourth one, I mean, we don't have anything there to talk about. But injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, well, we've got signage everywhere. It's not dangerous to the public. It's not detracting from property values. Number two, the use and value of area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. So it can affect you adversely, it just can't be substantially. Okay? And like I said, as you consider and reflect on all the signage we have in this area, from Main Street up 65, even if you take County Line and come back down Emerson, the sign, this is a natural component of our business in this area. This is not anything special. Nobody's getting special consideration that they're allowed a 50-foot sign with a 45-foot setback. And why is it 45 foot? Because of this little component, this unique piece of the property. As you can see, this is not a normal shaped property. And if our sign is there, we can't get any more than what we're doing, 45 feet, because of that little area right there. That's the safest spot for the sign on the property when you place the building there and all the parking. It's out of the parking lot where signs should go. So that's the rationale. I mean, if we could get 65, we would be here, but we can't. The most we can get is 45. And then the third one, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property, because as I should just left it there, it's a uniquely shaped property. Not only is it uniquely shaped, it's got a uniquely shaped pond right next to it. That creates practical difficulties with respect to the use of the property. And I'll pause there and sit down with the staff and maybe some demonstrators, say a few things, and then if I can reserve some of my time and add it to the 5 minutes, if I need it.
And just still only got 5 minutes. But appreciate you asking.
Thank you.
All right, anyone wishing to speak against this? Yep, approach. Your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, my name is Brent Tilson, address 1530 American Way, in the same South Park complex. I am one of the owners of TA Partners. TA Partners owns the building immediately north of the hotel, known as the Signature Building. You'll know Tilson, my company, is located in that building, as well as Raymond James. I have a total of 7 tenants in that building today, which has been wonderful. When we acquired that property back in 2008, it is a part of 3 pieces, the parcel to the north of my building and this specific parcel to the south of my building. All 3 of these are restricted properties. And so as a part of the easement transaction, I did provide over an email with all the information to you last week. As a part of the easement, we do have a very specific restriction on signage. And specifically, no single pole pylon signs shall be permitted on the restricted properties. Any and all directional and or tenant signage shall coordinate with other signage on the restricted properties, and no neon signage allowed. This was originally presented back in June by the petitioner with a single pole sign. We quickly notified them of our restriction that was on the property. They withdrew that request. They have now come back with a 2-pole sign in a effort to try and be clever with the wording to go from a single pole to a 2-pole. It's clearly an attempt to circumvent the intent of the restriction. When we built our commercial building there and working with the other owner of the property, the intent was for us to maintain a very professional office park environment, specifically in that area. So my first argument why this should be declined is because it is restricted. And just trying to add an extra pole to it to get around the pole requirement, we could get into semantics of what a single pole, it could just be a single pole, it could be one sign, not necessarily how many poles are attached to that sign. And so I think that this is their attempt to get around that. In addition, you know, it's already, I know that it was mentioned about all the other pole signs in that area. We've all been through this area. The pole signs that were discussed are on Main Street for the most part in that area. Many of those we know were from many years ago. And today would probably not pass as they did back then. But those are for businesses that are needing interstate traffic to stop in at that moment. If it's McDonald's, if it's Starbucks, if it's a gas station, it's taking advantage of those travelers that are going up and down I-65 so that they can see the signage. This specific property use for the Stay Bridge, from what I understand, unless they correct me, it's an extended stay property. Extended stay properties typically are not looking for on-demand hotel stays. These are people who are going to be traveling and already made reservations. They're going to use GPS technology today. They're going to use other things to identify this property and its location than driving down I-65, seeing a Stay Bridge sign and say, oh, that's where we're going to stay tonight, when in fact it's really aimed at a different type of clientele. In addition, it is on an exit ramp as you're approaching to the south. From a safety and concern for that is trying to keep people's eyes on the road. If they're driving down 65, they're not going to just glance up and see a Stay Bridge and swing as fast as they can. I mean, it is something that they, from a wayfaring, there is a signage that they are putting in to American Way area, so they'll be able to see the hotel. The hotel is 4 stories tall. You can't miss it. It dominates the entire landscape in our park we have now today. So the intended restriction goes along with all the reasons why this should be declined. There's really limited public benefit to having it there. And also, we don't want to see a precedent started in the office part of this complex. So South Park does have a lot of mixed use type businesses in there. You go from Chase up front and McDonald's and the others that are right in that area. But then as you go back into the park, you get into more of a mixed use with office in the front and then a little bit of a commercial in their back doors. The further north you get to our building, and it's a professional office building. And so adding a hotel signage in that part of the South Park development is really out of the character of the overall park and unnecessary. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Van der Lugaren, you got 5 minutes.
The agreement that Mr. Tilson, thank you for your time here today, cited was a private agreement. It's not in the ordinance. And we did pull the prior petition because it was for a single pylon sign. And we are trying to meet the terms of the covenants that apply to the property, which aren't in the ordinance. So that's a private matter between the property owners. We're not trying to put up a single pole sign. Single pole pylon sign is what this covenant speaks to. And that's not what we're applying for. Your approval of our two-pole sign doesn't have anything to do with whether it violates or comports with this covenant that's of record.
Thank you. Mr. Tilson, you do have five minutes if you wanted to respond to that. Otherwise, I will turn it over to staff. All right, turn it over to staff.
So staff is unfavorable of both requests, as you can see in our staff report. So for the first recommendation, there's two things they are looking to get variances from. One is to reduce the high-rise pole sign setback from 65 feet to 45 feet from the property line. And the second is to allow 2 ground signs on the property, and these are of different types. As Tom mentioned, we've got signage everywhere, and I think that is part of the reason why staff is unfavorable of the petitioner's request. We do feel that having an abundance of signage does create a lot of visual sign pollution and sign clutter. So part of our reason for being unfavorable is to minimize the amount of over signage in this area. Going along with that, there are some safety concerns with over signage, distraction to drivers. And then the other part that we were unfavorable of was the reduction of the setback. These setbacks don't pose what I see to be a unique hardship related to this specific building. The visibility of the building does not appear to be impaired. I've driven past that hotel a number of times, and the signs are actually, the wall signs on it are actually illuminated. So they're very bright, especially in the evening. If someone was to decide driving on 65 that they wanted to stay at an extended stay hotel, which I would agree is not really their clientele, they would see the illuminated sign. One interesting thing about the illuminated wall signs, we did approve them with a sign permit for approximately 85 square feet. These are 2 of them. You can see both of them from the interstate, particularly if you're going north. If you're going south, you may only see one of them. But what was installed on the building were 126 square feet wall signs. So currently they are working with us to correct the sign violation, but it looks like their signage will be 126 square feet, which is a very large wall sign that is clearly visible from the interstate. Therefore, we really don't see a practical difficulty with people needing additional pole signs, additional ground signs. They already do have 1 ground sign on the property. And we would agree that for this particular business, there are other practical and reasonable ways that people can find Staybridge Suites.
Close the public hearing. All.
So, looking at Google Earth, I saw there's like a South Park sign already for McDonald's that's in that area. Is it possible they could just add on to like that kind of pole to already existing signage there that by the interstate as well as on Main Street?
So that may be possible. I don't know all the details. I believe at one point, Crew Car Wash had rights to attach to the sign. I believe it was Crew Car Wash at least. During that time, I believe they found the pole sign to not be in condition to support additional weight. There were some safety concerns, especially with that pole sign being so tall. Pole signs, if they're not taken care of, will come down. And for a long period of time, part of that pole sign was not fully covered. That was a violation that we worked to get that resolved and repaired. So to my knowledge, Crew Car Wash may still have a private agreement where they would have rights to that. I don't know where that stands with the Commercial Owners Association or who has rights to the sign. But I believe that sign is for, if there's a private agreement that would dictate that. And based on what they said, I don't know if you could put any weight on it.
Mr. Miller? Mr. King?
So there's signage on the building that's already, I guess, non-compliant, but being brought to compliance.
Correct.
And so this would be on top of. I guess I am struggling to find the practical difficulty if there's already that much signage to then allow more signage.
And that's visible from the interstate.
Yeah, I know there was comments brought up about tree maintenance, but they are, it is a quite a tall building, and they are illuminated wall signs that are, I believe 126 square feet. Definitely coming north, you can see, it is on a corner that juts out. You could definitely driving north, see both wall signs on the building. Coming south, you'd likely only be able to see the sign number 3 on the staff report. That is on the east wall.
And they're not, because they have the wall sign and then the ground sign, no pole signs are, it's not,
They're
it's not
exceeding,
just, it's not just that they want 2, they can't, they're not even, per the ordinance, we're not even be allowed the 1.
they could have the one, they already have an approved ground sign. They cannot have 2 ground signs. And then the second part of it was the setbacks that they were requesting a reduction from that we do believe are. We don't believe it's practical difficulty. We do believe that those are for safety.
So in essence, what we're saying that if we do not support or give a waiver for this 2 ground signs, that negates the second request for the setback.
If you do not allow for 2 ground signs, I guess they could still request the setback for their single sign that they have if they wanted to relocate it. I don't, for this particular sign, no. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, for this particular sign, I don't think they're, I believe, a pair put together for this particular pole sign.
I just want to say, so my concern with 2 ground signs, it would be negated if there wasn't already the signage on the building. Then I would say, you know what, the pole sign's one thing, the ground's the other, because somebody coming on American Way, while there is GPS, they're still going to look for a landmark. That's just human nature. But I think with the signage on the building, that's where I'm struggling to find practical difficulty.
And I guess, is a pole sign and a ground sign the same thing then? I thought that was different.
So there are different types of ground signs, and the pole sign is one of the types of ground signs. So they already have one type
And
of
the
ground sign.
monument's a type now, and we need to add a second ground sign, which is in the pole shape.
That, I appreciate that, because I thought we were looking at 2 pole signs. Okay.
2 poles on one side.
Yeah, no, I thought we were looking at 2 pole signs, therefore. Mr. King, anything else? No. Mrs. Peters?
No.
I'm with Josh, I do appreciate, again, the need to advertise and be seen. I also think it was addressed, the 45-foot with only a 50-foot sign, not an 85-foot sign, but I do think it's extra on top of what's already there, so I struggle with practical difficulties to some degree as well. It's a tougher one. And then while I also understand the private agreement is a private agreement, it does seem this is potentially trying to get around that, and potentially could be argued that it does affect the value adjacent to it as a result of them having an agreement. So. All right, I will take a motion to admit all the evidence into the record.
I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the UDO, comprehensive plan, testimony of petitioners, city planning staff, and the administrators, and all exhibits presented via oral, written, or consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and to include testimony of those present this evening.
Motion by Mr. Knoll, second by Mr. Milburn. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Take a motion on request number 1 to allow 2 ground mounted signs.
I move to deny the request.
Motion by Mr. King to deny, second by Mrs. Peters. All those in favor of the denial, please raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Take a motion to direct the corporation. Oh, sorry, got a second request to reduce the setback for a high-rise sign from 65 feet to 45 feet. Well, I mean, it is no longer applicable, but I assume we still need to take action on this.
Go ahead and move to deny then.
Motion to deny by Mr. King, second by Mrs. Peters. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. I'll take the motion to direct the corporation council to draft the findings of fact.
To consider the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the corporation's council office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on variance request presented in variance petition number BZA 2025-032. Said findings specifically incorporate the staff report and evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as our final decision and final action regarding the petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Moll, second by Mrs. Peters. All those in favor, raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you. Last docket, BZA 2025-033, development standards variance. This is for 800 block of Combs Road. Petitioner is Eric Prime on behalf of Davis Homes, requesting relief from 4 sections of the UDO. Number 1, to reduce minimum lot size from 4 acres to 4,600 square feet for duplex units and 2,200 square feet for townhome units. Number 2, to reduce the minimum setback from 20 feet to 0 feet between attached units and 5 feet on exterior sides with a minimum of 10 feet between buildings. Number 3, to reduce the lot width from 300 feet to 40 feet for duplex units and 20 feet for townhome units. And number 4, for building height, to reduce the minimum height from 30 feet to 12 feet on duplex units and 20 feet for townhome units. Oh, there is a 5th, thank you. Which is a rear yard setback to reduce the rear setback from 20 feet to 15 feet measured from the center line of the alley. Is everything in order?
Kevin Slater, yes, it is in order and in our file. One thing I will mention with this petition, just going forward, the RMC zone specifically says that it provides for attached single-family dwellings and duplexes arranged and operating as a complex. All of the variances stem from the same hardship, is that this is looking at it as a 1-lot complex, where simply what they want to do is make these owner occupied and individual lots.
Okay, thank you.
I see the agreement ordinance and comprehensive plan.
All those wishing to present, please stand and be sworn in.
Do you swear under penalties for perjury the testimony is true to the best of your knowledge?
I do, yes. All right, Mr. Prime, again, name and address for the record for this docket.
Good evening, for the record, Eric Prime, 285 South Emerson. on behalf of petitioner Davis Homes.
And again, what you have submitted is accurate as far as your answers to the statutory criteria.
It is.
Tell us why we're here.
There we go. All right. I will keep this brief because Gabe pretty much hit the nail on the head. Originally, this was this ground that we're here about. Let me pop over to it real quick, maybe. Oh, too far. There we go. This parcel's on Combs Road, north of the S curve, south of county line. This was originally annexed and rezoned for Arbor Homes to put in a single family development. I'm sorry. That's the next one. I've got too many things going on. Try this one more time. This was originally annexed and rezoned for an outfit called Pride One to do for rent units, but they were going to be townhomes and quads, and it would look from the road like that type of development, not your typical high-rise multifamily setup. Unfortunately, that went under, was not financially viable, and so now Davis Homes has stepped in. But they are essentially going to do the exact same thing. They're going to do townhomes and duplexes, but they will be individual lots and for sale. And so that's really the only difference. The final product will kind of look like it was going to anyway, except that now it's going to be individually owned and deeded lots. And in order to do that without going completely back to an entire rezoning again, we just are asking to change some of these dimensional requirements. So for instance, the minimum height of buildings is 30 feet for these multifamily scenarios. But for us, we want to be the typical 12 feet for the duplexes and 40 feet for the, or 20 feet for the townhomes. Likewise, the minimum lot width is 300 feet for a multifamily, where you're not going to sell that much ground for a townhome. So the width needs to come down as well. So all of these that you mentioned, the 5 dimensions, are all interrelated. The statutory criteria are the same for all of them. The hardship is that we can't comply with the multifamily standards. It just doesn't make any sense. So that the lot width, side yard setback, rear yard setback, lot size, minimum lot size is 4 acres. And so obviously to do townhomes and duplexes, they're not going to be on a lot that large. And that's really all we're asking is for those 5 items to have a relief on those dimensions so that this can become a single family deeded development, which you see here in front of you. The townhomes will be on the south half and the duplexes on the north half. And there's just the picture of what the townhomes will look like. They will all be rear load townhomes, so that's the fronts, and the duplexes will look like that. And then there is your statutory criteria. So really, it's a fairly simple ask. We just want to be able to do the for sale deeded units with the more typical lot sizes and setbacks for those. There is one commitment we want to enter into. There's a south adjoiner. Pop back real quick. Just for the record, one of the properties to the south requested some tree buffering, and so there is a commitment that we would like to put into the findings of fact. I will provide that to your council. That involves a tree line basically along the corner at the bottom, and so that is a commitment that we want.
Anyone wishing to speak against or to add to what Mr. Prime had to say?
On behalf or?
Either way.
My name's Jeff Dickens, and I own a property north of where they're.
Jeff, what was your name, Jeff?
Jeff, J-E-B Dickens. I'm at 952 North Combs Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So my question is, and I couldn't make the when you first purchased this property, but we don't have that there. What is the plan for the property adjoining my property? Is there going to be trees? You're putting a fence in? I don't know if that I'm too late to be asking these questions or not, but
that's not necessarily for this board.
Well, then in regards to what he's doing, are you increasing the amount of lots in this subdivision? By lowering the lot sizes?
Well, technically, yes, because they were gonna be it was all one big lot, one deed, one owner, and it was gonna be rental, so each of these will have their own lots. The density, I cannot remember what Pride One was proposing, but I think this is probably fewer total units, because they actually had some 6-unit buildings and some 8-unit buildings in addition to the townhomes and duplexes, so. That's just off the top of my head, that's been, I think that was 2020, 2021 when that was.
Yeah, the density and the number is not for us to rule on. What we're only
Just what's on this document.
is, yeah, specific to that. So,
Sure, I guess to that point, the density of lots is increasing.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily the density of units, I don't have those numbers in front of me from the Pride One, but the lots are definitely increasing, because before it was one shared lot that everyone would, it'd be like an apartment,
right,
but
like
more.
more like an apartment complex previously. Yeah. So, okay. Be more individual lots, but less potential pupils.
That's what I was getting at, okay. Okay. Sure.
All right, Mr. Prime, if you want to have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I really have no rebuttal. I mean, I think it's just, as long as we can develop this as single family, for sale units, then that's the fine.
And there'll be guidelines as far as buffering and everything to the property next to them, that the site planning and all that will go through.
I can check right now.
Yeah, that would be my question, because normally an apartment complex, we'd be looking at around the edges, but with individual lots, that would be only my only question. And then. What was it?
With part of this being city of Greenwood and the property to the north being in the county, we don't necessarily have a buffer yard requirement for a zoning that is not a Greenwood prescribed zone.
Staff, I know you commented at the beginning, anything else you want to add before I close the public hearing?
No, nothing else to add. We're in favor.
Close the public hearing. All right, Mr. Mole? No questions here. Mr. Milborn? No, sir. Mr. King?
Procedurally to the commitment, do we need to add that as a condition or how? I'm used to when I hear commitment.
It's our ask, not that it's being volunteered, right?
I think you could add it as a condition.
All right, that's more procedural on that.
Yep. Mr. Peters?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Pretty clear. All right, motion to admit all the evidence in the record.
I move that we admit all evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the UDO and comprehensive plan, testimony of petitioner, city planning staff, and Indian monitors of all exhibits presented via oral written for consideration by this board as regard to petition to include testimony of those present.
Motion by Mr. Mole. Second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Okay, request number 1 to reduce minimum lot size from 4 acres to 4,600 square feet for duplex units and 2,200 square feet for townhome units.
Move that we approve the request with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King to approve with no conditions. Second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Number 2, to reduce the minimum setback from 20 feet to 0 feet between attached units and 5 feet on exterior sides with a minimum of 10 feet between buildings.
Move that we approve with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Number 3, to reduce the lot width from 300 feet to 40 feet for duplex units and 20 feet for townhome units.
Move that we approve with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And number 4, to reduce the minimum height from 30 feet to 12 feet on duplex units and 20 feet for townhome units.
Move that we approve with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And number 5, to reduce the rear setback from 20 feet to 15 feet measured from the center line of the alley.
Move to approve with no conditions.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Milborn. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign.
Sorry.
Say aye.
I couldn't get the motion.
All in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Make sure represent. Motion to direct the corporation's council to draft written findings of fact.
Having considered the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the corporation's council office to direct written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance requested presented in the variance petition number BZA 2025-033. Said findings specifically incorporate the staff report and evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as our final decision and final action regarding this petition in the next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Moll, second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor raise a hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Any new business from the floor? Oh, you are free to proceed. New business from the floor, seeing none. Any announcements? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So
We are adjourned. Stop the recording.